distinguished members of this Congress, I have no doubt that the government and the people of the Republic of Congo have devised strategies suited to your circumstances and which have served you well. I would at this juncture like to share with you what has been Rwanda's experience over the last 16 years. Let me say that we learned from bitter experience, and that relying on prescriptions or directives from elsewhere simply does not work and hinder our political and economic processes. We built institutions and systems derived from our history and values that respond to the needs of our people. This has worked for us. For example, we have decentralized power so that our people have a direct say in decisions that affect their daily lives. Throughout our yearly national dialogue, representatives from across the country meet to discuss national issues and take the opportunity to evaluate the way government is running national affairs. We hold our leaders at different levels of government accountable through a performance contract called Imihigo, where we can track how they perform their duties and serve the Rwandan people, who must be at the heart of everything we do. Although it often seems like there is too much to address at once, we understand that without priorities, we will not make much progress. That's why, through our annual National Leadership Retreat, all branches of government meet to agree on the key priorities for the next year and work collectively to implement them, holding each other to account at the next session. In Rwanda, we have sought to emphasize what unites us and point to the strength that we can derive from diversity. Based on this approach, we have shaped our idea of competitive politics away from adversarial towards consensus-driven politics. That is why we have a system of proportional representation in our parliament so that every voice is heard. Similarly, the ruling party does not exceed 50% of posts in our cabinet. Besides the nature and functioning of our institutions that I have just outlined, we have had to devise other systems to help us achieve our development and national unit objectives. They include the Gacaca courts, a traditional restorative judicial system that dispenses justice but also reconciles people. These courts helped us deal with about 1.5 million of genocide cases. There is also the Abunzi mediators structure, which adjudicates minor cases that do not have to go to the conventional courts. And our Ubudehe system provides collective support to the most vulnerable in our communities. Honorable members of the Congress, Mr. President of the Congress, as I pointed out earlier, Africa is resource rich. But these abundant resources have not always benefited our people, principally because we do not own the means of exploiting them or control trade in them. In order to get value for our resources so that our people can gain from their natural heritage, we must pursue closer cooperation between our countries and speak with one voice, particularly in international trade negotiations. Such a cooperation will become more effective if it is done within the framework of regional integration and South-South cooperation. Dividends from such a cooperation not only boost our economies, but also bring us closer and enhance great understanding between African peoples. To maximize benefits from increased trade, we should also shift our focus from looking at trade in terms of selling to and buying from the developed world alone, and also turn to intra-African trade. The nature and volume of this trade must increase. In fact, it has a very huge potential. One such area of trade and cooperation is in the energy sector. The Republic of Congo, and indeed other African countries, produce oil. Yet many countries on the continent continue to suffer from very high energy costs. Equally crucial for our economic strength is for us to create the right climate for investment and encourage more business between our nations. Intra-African trade and economic cooperation will only bear fruit if we are prepared to invest in a transport and communication infrastructure that link our countries and remove non-essential barriers to trade and movement of people and goods. The need for closer cooperation is not only driven by economic imperative, but also by the reality of increasing interdependency and globalization. We cannot adequately meet our challenges as individual countries alone, but as a group with a common agenda, we can succeed. This is how we will impress upon the rest of the world that we are serious partners on the world stage and deserve to be treated as such. Mr. President and members of this August Congress, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, it is a well-known fact that countries thrive when they invest in their people. They are our most important resource, and to fully realize our potential, they must be educated, healthy, and trained. It is the people who will drive our agenda of closer cooperation and integration. They are the ones who can properly run and support our institutions of governance and economic development, only if they have the requisite knowledge and skills. But equally important, we must recognize their worth and develop mechanisms to motivate and retain them. In conclusion, I would like to thank you very much once again for giving me this opportunity to share with you my thoughts on how we can move our countries forward. This kind of interaction is necessary in the spirit of African solidarity and learning from one another. We must do everything in our means to continue building prosperous nations, strengthening and safeguarding the unity and integrity of Africa, and defending at all times the dignity of the African people. Je vous remercie pour votre aimable attention.